In the aftermath of World War II, the world teetered on the brink of another catastrophic conflict. But this time, it wasn't fought with armies. It was a battle of ideologies, survival, and strategic brilliance. The Berlin Blockade and the ensuing airlift weren't just a humanitarian mission, they were the first major confrontation of the Cold War, a tense standoff that shaped the geopolitical map for decades to come. Welcome to Infinitia Verity, where we explore history's most compelling moments. Today, we'll uncover how a divided city, the looming shadow of Soviet domination, and the resolve of the Western Allies turned Berlin into the Cold War's first battlefield. This is a story of resilience, strategy, and innovation that you won't want to miss. To understand the Berlin Blockade, we must first delve into the roots of the Cold War itself. By 1945, the Allied powers, namely the United States, the Soviet Union, Britain, and later France, had triumphed over Nazi Germany. But their alliance was one of necessity, not trust. Interesting fact number 1. At the Yalta and Potsdam conferences in 1945, Germany was divided into 4 zones of occupation, as was Berlin. This arrangement seemed cooperative at the time but planted the seeds for future conflict. Interesting fact number 2. Tensions flared as early as 1946 when Winston Churchill famously declared in a speech, "An iron curtain has descended across the continent." This metaphor symbolized the growing divide between Western democracies and the Soviet-controlled Eastern Bloc. While the US pursued policies like the Marshall Plan to rebuild Europe's economies, the Soviets sought to consolidate their grip over Eastern Europe, establishing satellite states that would later form the Warsaw Pact. Berlin, the heart of Germany, was an anomaly, half free, half under Soviet control, and a microcosm of the Cold War. Berlin's unique position as a city divided into 4 sectors made it a flashpoint for tensions. Even as Western allies and the Soviets coexisted uneasily, stark differences emerged. Interesting fact number 3. West Berlin, though surrounded by Soviet-controlled East Germany, became a thriving hub of democracy and free market capitalism. This stark contrast to the impoverished East Berlin created political and economic tensions. Interesting fact number 4. The Soviets didn't just resent the Western sectors, they actively sought to undermine them. By 1948, they introduced disruptive policies, including currency manipulation and interference in transportation, to destabilize West Berlin. The West's introduction of the Deutsche Mark in June 1948, meant to stabilize Germany's economy, was the final straw for Stalin. The Soviets retaliated by blockading all land routes into West Berlin, plunging the city into a state of crisis. On June 24, 1948, Stalin launched the Berlin Blockade, cutting off all road, rail, and canal access to West Berlin. It was a bold and provocative move. Interesting fact number 5. Stalin believed the blockade would force the Allies to abandon Berlin, as resupplying the city seemed logistically impossible. He underestimated their resolve. Interesting fact number 6. The blockade not only targeted food but also coal, electricity, and medical supplies. The Soviets even closed their airspace over Berlin, leaving the Western Allies with only 3 narrow air corridors. With West Berlin's survival hanging by a thread, US President Harry Truman faced a monumental decision: withdraw and risk the fall of Europe to communism, or find a way to sustain the city without triggering World War III. The Western Allies opted for an audacious plan. They would resupply Berlin entirely by air. Thus began the Berlin Airlift, an operation that would go down in history as one of the most extraordinary logistical feats ever attempted. Interesting fact number 7. The airlift officially began on June 26, 1948, with the first flights carrying food, medicine, and fuel. What started as a desperate measure quickly evolved into a highly coordinated operation involving hundreds of planes. Interesting fact number 8. At the operation's peak, planes landed every 45 seconds at Tempelhof and Tegel airports in Berlin. Pilots flew through treacherous weather and Soviet harassment, often making multiple trips a day. Over the next 11 months, more than 277,000 flights delivered 2.3 million tons of supplies. West Berliners endured hardships with remarkable resilience, transforming the airlift into a symbol of unity and defiance. Among the heroes of the Berlin airlift was U.S. Air Force pilot Gale Halvorsen, who became known as the Candy Bomber. His simple gesture of dropping candy to Berlin's children captured hearts worldwide. Interesting fact number 9. Halvorsen began his candy drops unofficially, tying sweets to handkerchief parachutes. When his superiors discovered the initiative, they embraced it, launching Operation Little Vittles to boost morale. Interesting fact number 10. The candy drops had an unexpected propaganda effect. They showcased the West's compassion, contrasting sharply with the Soviet blockade. Photos of smiling children clutching sweets circulated globally, garnering support for the Allies' efforts. These acts of kindness underscored the airlift's greater purpose, not just to supply a city, but to uphold the principles of freedom and human dignity. Behind the Berlin airlift's success lay extraordinary logistical innovation. The Western Allies turned airports like Tempelhof into hubs of activity, while engineers built the new Tegel Airport in record time to accommodate the increased traffic. Interesting fact number 11. Tempelhof Airport's runway was initially too short for heavy cargo planes. Allied engineers extended it under harrowing conditions, working around the clock and often under Soviet harassment. Interesting fact number 12. Coal, essential for heating and power, made up the majority of airlift cargo. The Allies had to package it carefully to prevent planes from becoming unbalanced mid-flight. The operation's scale was unprecedented, proving that even in the face of adversity, ingenuity and teamwork could prevail. As the airlift progressed, Stalin realized his blockade was backfiring. Instead of weakening the Allies, it solidified their cooperation. Interesting fact number 13. The airlift's success accelerated the formation of NATO in 1949, creating a formal alliance between Western democracies against Soviet aggression. Interesting fact number 14. The blockade also spurred the economic recovery of West Germany, as the Allies prioritized rebuilding the region to counter Soviet influence. The Deutsche Mark became a symbol of this recovery. By May 1949, Stalin admitted defeat. The blockade was lifted, marking a significant victory for the Western Allies and setting the stage for the Cold War's next chapter. The Berlin blockade and airlift left an indelible mark on history. It was a moment when the world teetered on the edge of war, yet humanity's resilience and ingenuity prevailed. Interesting fact number 15. The airlift inspired future humanitarian missions from the Vietnam War to modern disaster relief efforts. It set a precedent for using logistics to save lives and uphold values. Interesting fact number 16. In 1989, as the Berlin Wall fell, many Germans cited the airlift as a defining moment in their nation's history. It reinforced the idea that Berlin was more than just a city. It was a symbol of freedom. Today, the airlift stands as a testament to what can be achieved through determination and collaboration. The Berlin blockade was a high-stakes chess match between superpowers. It was a battle of ideologies, of wills, and of humanity itself. While the Soviets sought to divide and conquer, the Western Allies demonstrated the power of unity and innovation. As we reflect on this pivotal moment, let's remember the lessons it taught us, the importance of resilience, the value of cooperation, and the enduring fight for freedom. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Infinitia Verity. Which Cold War story should we explore next? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, stay curious and keep seeking the truth.